Take two. Here we are preparing for our third the American Constitutionalist broadcast. Okay, so we're going to cover the rest of the Bill of Rights. My name is Guy Alberghini. I'm here with Keith Rowland.
My name is Keith. How are you?
Okay, so we're going to start with the Sixth Amendment. In all criminal prosecutions, the accused shall enjoy the right to speedy and public trial by an impartial jury of the state and district wherein the crime shall have been committed, which district shall have been previously ascertained by law, and to be informed of the nature of the cause of the accusation, to be confronted with the witnesses against him, have compulsory process for obtaining witnesses in his favor, and to have the assistance of the counsel for his defense. So, quite a bit in Amendment number 6 there. So, might as well start with, in all criminal prosecutions, the accused shall enjoy the right to speedy and public trial. So, what are your thoughts about that, Keith?
Guy, you're absolutely right. Here's the old thing, innocent till proven guilty. What's going on with the judicial system, a lot of people are not getting the fair trial. They're getting like an impartial trial, not a fair one. And you see a lot of innocent people going to jail. They're not protecting our individual rights to a fair, partial, to a speedy trial, with the fair people to judge us and everything. And it's a shame, and it's something that we really need to work on. We really need to fix.
Okay, so the next part of that we'll go over by an impartial jury of the state and district wherein the crime shall have been committed. So what are your thoughts on that sentence?
Guy, that's a good point. What you're talking about is an impartial jury or trial, that goes on, and you see it too much in this country. The judicial system is all screwed up and everything, and people are not getting the fair trial that they need to be getting. They're not getting the fair and honest representation that people need, when they're in a court of law. And we need to be able to protect these people's rights. We need to be able to, whether it be in the regular court system or the Supreme Court, it's very, very important that we take this into consideration. Absolutely.
Yeah, so it's not just impartial jury that's important, but it's of the state and district wherein the crime shall have been committed. So, from Massachusetts, they can't take you to California and have you tried there. So, committed, and to be informed of the nature and cause of the accusation. So nature and cause of the accusation. Want to touch about that?
Yeah, Guy, you're making a good point there. Again, like we're talking about, is having an honest representation and a fair and speedy trial, which is not happening. And if somebody is tried in Massachusetts, the court and everything should be in Mass. You shouldn't be taking it out of state like in Alaska or California. Wherever the crime was committed, the person should be able to have that trial in that city, in that same state. Absolutely.
And the person must be informed. They cannot go to trial blindly, not knowing what they're accused of. Then to be confronted with the witnesses against him. Well, that's a very important one too. To be confronted with the witnesses against him.
Yes, so true, Guy. You know, to have the witnesses going against you, you know, you're going to have witnesses for you, you know, to protect your personal rights, you know, and you see it too much in the judicial system. You know, it's not the right. We need to be able to protect our rights, and we need to have that right representation. Absolutely.
Yeah, so it's saying that, you know, you have to know who the witnesses against you are. Okay, and then there's some trials where they want the witness to be hidden. So the one being accused has no idea who the witnesses against them are. You want to add to that?
So true. You know, that kind of like points out to the fact it's like it's a blind trial. It's not an open trial. You know, blind shot in the dark. I mean, if somebody's being accused of some kind of crime, we need to have those do everything in the fair practice of law and have the actual witnesses there, not hidden, not hiding. They're actually there to stand up for that other individual, their personal rights. And we see too much of it in this country where people are not, like I said earlier, not getting the right representation, but not getting a fair trial and not being fair in having that the witnesses there, you know, barking up for their story, you know, standing up for them, for their character. Our character witness is always getting damaged. And why they do this, I have no idea. But the judicial system has a lot of holes in it, and we need to be bringing things back. We need to be bringing back the right to have a right and speedy trial, but also where witnesses who are witnesses to the crime are also going to be there. Absolutely.
Okay, so you get to know the witnesses against you, and the following statement to that is, you could probably guess it, to have compulsory process for obtaining witnesses in his favor. So obtaining witnesses in his favor now.
That's a good point you brought up there, Guy. Having witnesses in your favor, absolutely. Because when we have witnesses in your favor, they're representing the true character of that individual, of that person. You know, that way that person's getting an honest representation. You know, because, you know, you have that character witness right there. And a lot of that is missing in the judicial system. We definitely need to be bringing that back.
And the last part of the Sixth Amendment is, and to have assistance of counsel for his defense. To have assistance of counsel for his defense.
Good point you brought up, Guy. Yeah, have counsel in his defense. And what's going on with the judicial system, we're not getting the fair and honest counsel. You know, we're not getting that fair trial. That's what it all equals down to. And the thing is, Guy, like you pointed out, we need to be able to bring that back into the courtroom, the characters of witness, and, you know, like it says in the amendment, a fair and partial trial, you know, by their peers and everything. And, you know, that's why the holes are in the judicial system, and we need to be bringing things back to the normal pace. Absolutely.
And because of that last part of the Sixth Amendment, people that are going to trial, you know, told if you can't afford a counsel, one will be appointed for you. It's because of that very last statement. And to have access, to have the assistance of counsel for his defense. So that wrapped up the Sixth Amendment. So here's the Seventh Amendment. In suits at common law, where the value and controversy shall exceed $20, the right of trial by jury shall be preserved, and no fact tried by jury shall be otherwise re-examined in any court of the United States that in accordance to these rules of common law. So, in the suits of common law, where the value in controversy shall exceed $20. I guess we'll start there, Keith.
Yeah, absolutely. Like when they read you your rights and somebody's being detained, you're bringing up a good point, Guy. They talk about when they read you the rights that if you cannot afford an attorney, attorney will be appointed to you. But in a lot of cases, when that happens, we really have to pay expensive fees out of pocket. We don't really get the fair judicial system that we really need in the courtroom. And we're supposed to be getting the representation of a good lawyer, and we don't get that. And we need to be bringing that back, absolutely. Because it said right there, detaining the rights, if you cannot afford a lawyer will be appointed to you. A good lawyer, And that's what needs to be back in the circuit, needs to be back in the judicial system, absolutely.
Well, where the value in controversy shall exceed $20. Well, back then, $20 was probably a heck of a lot of money. And, there's so-called regular court. You also have small claims court. So if it's under $20, back then it went to the small claims court. So the next part, the right of a trial by jury shall be preserved. The right of a trial by jury shall be preserved.
Yes.
And
Good,
Keith,
good point, Guy. The last statement that you said, the right of a trial should be preserved. We should have a right to an honest and good jury. We're going to have an honest jury. We're going to have the best representation. And like I said earlier, if we cannot afford a lawyer, the lawyer will be appointed to us. If it's $20, $10, whatever we can afford, we get that representation. I mean, that's the most important thing. And we need to be bringing that back, absolutely.
okay, so shall be otherwise re-examined in any court of the United States that then according to the rules of the common law. So shall be otherwise re-examined in any court of the United States then according to the rules of the common law. And what are your thoughts about that, Keith, that sentence?
Right, that's a good point. The rules of the common law, law-abiding citizens. And since we're law-abiding citizens, we need to be able to have our rights protected, under the Constitution, that, like, as we're mentioning, the 6th and 7th Amendment. So a lot of times we're getting violated and we're not getting that fair trial. We're not getting that, that fair representation. So we need to be, what we talk about and what we're saying, we need to put all these things into practice. Absolutely.
Okay, so that pretty much wrapped up the 7th Amendment. So now here's the 8th Amendment. Excessive bail shall not be required, nor excessive fines imposed, nor cruel and unusual punishment inflicted. So I guess we'll start with excessive bail shall not be required. Start with that sentence, Keith.
Guy, good point, and I'm glad you brought that up. This is something I really like to elaborate. When you do go to court, they give you these stiff fines and also bail. I mean, like, 100,000 or 200,000, whatever they could do, mortgage your house, you know. How are you treating an American citizen like that? You're not giving them those fair partial rights. Let's practice what we preach, and let's take that action into consideration. The stiff fines and the stiff penalties, I mean, the bill is outrageous, And what if the person's innocent and they're paying that fine just to be out of jail? How's that fair to him, and how's that fair to their family? And that's what we need to really look at.
Yeah, that was great, Keith. Well, add to that is there are many people that have a hard time paying any bail at all. And you have lots of people that can afford a very high bail, multi-millions of dollars. So what exactly would excessive bail be? Well, to a normal person, $1,000 would be excessive. But to another group, $100 million would not be excessive. They could easily afford it. You want to continue with that thought?
Absolutely. Yeah, like you were saying, Guy, early in the conversation, the excessive bail is outrageous. And, what they're doing is unfair. People can't afford those high bails. You got to give people a break. People are by certain means of their financial situation, and we have to be able to really outlay that very important stuff that the outrageous fines and the stiff penalties and the bail. Really have to take that into consideration, that somebody could afford it, yes, but somebody might not be able to afford it. And what if the person's innocent and then they have to pay for it? How's that justice? That's not doing any justice at all. We need to really look back and see what we're really doing.
Yeah, so Keith, you touched upon this next one a little bit, nor excessive fines imposed. Good
point. Excessive fines imposed, and a lot of times, like I said earlier, Guy, what if they're innocent and they're paying all these high fines, the bail, and they come out, they're clean as a whistle, and they don't get that money back, What is that doing to our judicial system? What is that doing to the person's family? How's that protecting our personal rights? It's actually violating our rights. It's violating the amendment of the Constitution, what we're beating on the 7th and 8th Amendment. So we really need to take these things into consideration, absolutely.
Yeah, so excessive fines not being imposed, that goes back to what we were saying basically, Keith, about the bail.
Yeah.
There's some people that have a very hard time paying minimal fines, but you have lots of people where $100 million is like pocket change to them.
That's true.
So, the question is, was excessive really? I guess it depends on the person's individual means.
True. Made a good point. Like you said, excessive fines or excessive bail, right or wrong. Everything has to be measured equally. The situation is whether they can afford it or whether they can't afford it. The whole point of it is that a lot of people who do pay these fines or pay these bills, most of them are innocent. Like we said in the judicial system, we're innocent till we're proven guilty, And how do we get that money back? How do we get our mortgage back? We have to mortgage our property and everything in order to let our friend or a loved one out of jail. And it's a very excessive high amount on a bail that you have to pay. So it's really violating our rights, absolutely.
Okay, in the last part of the 7th Amendment, nor cruel and unusual punishment inflicted, nor cruel and unusual punishments inflicted. So Keith, you want to touch on?
Yeah, good point on that. Unusual punishment. You see it in the judicial system. Penny ante crimes, person does theft or maybe robs a grocery store, convenience store, and it's like this is really going on in the country, and they go to jail for what, 5 years or 8 years to steal a candy bar out of a convenience store? Come on, I mean, and then you get somebody else who committed a very horrible crime, and they're out in 3 years for committing rape. Where's the balanced scales of justice? I mean, if we really look at it, cruel and unusual punishment, guy, what you're mentioning about is like I said, a lot of innocent people go in jail before they're proven guilty, and paying excessive fines. I mean, it's really and the cruel punishment. Like they go to jail for 5 years or 8 years for just penny ante crimes. Something that you'd get probation or maybe a year or something like that. We really need to bring that judicial system back.
Okay, so I think we covered the 8th Amendment pretty well. So here's the 9th Amendment. The enumeration in the Constitution of certain rights shall not be construed to deny or disparage others restrained by the people. Okay, so the enumeration in the Constitution, I guess start with that sentence.
Yeah, good point, Guy. Talking about our rights, our judicial rights, our personal rights, and how they're violating our constitutional amendment. Like I said, we need to bring that back, and we need to bring it back in the right, fair, partial way. Absolutely. And there's a lot of injustice being done, and we need to take out the injustice out of the court systems and out of everyday life. Absolutely.
Yeah, so the next small part is, okay, or maybe it should have been put together, the enumeration in the Constitution of certain rights. So I guess of certain rights.
Certain rights. Okay, now I see what you're saying, Guy. Yeah, our personal certain rights, our individual rights, property rights, health rights, personal things like that are being violated that shouldn't be violated.
The Bill of Rights.
The Bill of Rights, absolutely. And this is where we talk about, our rights as individuals, our rights as citizens of the United States. Absolutely.
Okay, and the last part, very important, shall not be construed to deny or disparage others retained by the people.
Good point, Guy. Yeah, detained by other people. I know what you're saying. Right.
Detained by the people.
By the people. Right, exactly. And that goes on a lot in the judicial system. It's crazy but true, And a lot of people who are being wrongfully prosecuted are being detained, They're not really weighing the scales of justice that they need to be, They're not getting the fair, partial trial that people need to be getting, And we need to fix this. A lot of holes in our justice system. Absolutely.
Okay, so that covered the 9th Amendment. So the 10th Amendment, the last amendment of the Bill of Rights, the powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively or to the people. So the powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution. We can start with that one.
Okay. The delegates of the U.S. Constitution, yes, we have
The
to
powers not delegated.
the powers of delegated, sorry. Okay.
So,
The powers that are delegated, right, powers of authority that are delegated, respecting that authority in the judicial system and everything else, we need to be able to respect that authority, respect that leadership, absolutely, most importantly, as well as our personal rights, our judicial rights. It's something we really have to take into consideration, absolutely. Yeah, there really has to be some different adjustments and things that need to be fixed in that regards.
yeah, so my take on that sentence is the powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution. In other words, if the United States Constitution does not mention it. Okay, so the next one is nor prohibited by it to the states. No, nor prohibited by it to the states. And that would be by the Constitution.
Right. I see what you're saying, Guy. What you're saying is not by the states, it's by the Constitution. Let's go back to the Bill of Rights, like you said. Let's go back to the actual amendments, constitutional freedom, that was drawn up over 200 years ago. Let's really impart on that. And that's what really talks about our personal freedom, our personal liberty, and our personal rights. The Bill of Rights, the amendments. And we really need to take that into consideration. You guys can write to your governors, write letters, whatever we need to do, let's go ahead and do that. Because we have that individual responsibility, absolutely.
Yeah, so nor prohibited by it to the states, nor prohibited by the Constitution to the states. That means if it's not spelled out in the Constitution, it doesn't stop the states. And the last sentence is are reserved to the states respectively or to the people.
Yes, good point. Are reserved to the states or to the people? It's to the people. The people is what we really need to concentrate on. The preamble, the amendments, the Constitution, it all measures into one important factor, our personal freedom, our personal indication, our personal judicial system. Everything amounts to everything. And like I said, we need to be bringing that back, absolutely. We need to really concentrate, these amendments, what they're there for. We understand the guidelines and the boundaries through the state and everything, but the Constitution really outweighs all of that. And that's what we have to take into consideration.
Okay, so Amendment 10 again, the powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively or to the people. So if it's not mentioned in the Constitution, whatever it is, it goes to the states and the people of the states through the state houses. And you want to say a little wrap about that?
Yes, good point. So what he's actually saying, that if it's to the states, it needs to be appropriated to the states, to the governor, to the people in charge of that state. If it's the Constitution, it's the Constitution. So we need to be able to separate the state and the Constitution. So we take everything into consideration. That's the important thing. So if it's outlined and spelled out for the state, it's for the state. If it's outlined and spelled out for the Constitution, it's the Constitution.
Okay, let's say that's a wrap. Okay, look forward Look for our next broadcast. Thank you.